block, go ahead and grab it. If not, no big deal. You can use anything next to you. Just sometimes it's nice to have handy if you are going to be lunging for a little bit of time, taking a little bit of weight off, or just having a nice stable support near you is nice. And we'll actually get started right away on your knees. And so once you're on your knees here, just take your knees about hips width distance apart. And then bring your hands to your hips and just take a moment to take the heads of your shoulders and maybe lead with your elbows back behind you a bit more to open up the collarbones. If you want, maybe lift the chin a little bit to open up that space. So nice. And then as you exhale, just sit back on your heels if you can. And then start to round your hand, bring your hands forward towards your knees, round your shoulders forward, and maybe even start to bring your chin towards the top of your chest. So then you get a little bit of stretch in between the shoulder blades. And then we'll come back up onto the knees. Again, hands to your hips. Inhale to send the elbows back, shoulders back, maybe lift the chin. And then one last time, sit back on your heels, hands to your knees, round like you would in cat pose. And then you come back up onto your knees here. And if you have a block, pick it in your left hand and just step your right foot forward into a lunge. And so start with 90 degrees in both back and front knee here, just for support. And then you'll bring your hand, you can even take that block for a moment, just off to the left. Hand can be there. Don't rest all your weight there. Try not to. Keep integrity in the spine. So maybe just the tips of your fingers graze that block. And you just know you have it there. And then on your next inhale, start to send your pelvis forward a bit more and let that knee go forward a little bit more to that point where not you're so deep where you feel like you're just sinking down and letting gravity take hold, but just sending your hips forward a bit more. And then see if you can lift through the chest and then maybe lift through the chin. And then if you want, press your right hand into your thigh, reach your left hand up towards the sky to lengthen that a little bit more. So you get a little bit more of a stretch through the front of the left hip. And then maybe you send that right knee a little bit further forward. Take one more breath in and then bring that hand back to the block. Start to send your hips back a bit and just enough so you can pick up the right toes. And think about hinging at the hip joint here to lengthen the hamstrings. You'll feel that happen a bit more. Now, again, take your block a little bit further forward. Now, this time, you can put a little bit more weight into the left hand. Your right hand can brace your right knee, and then just send the right hand, or right knee, excuse me, and hand a little further forward. And then pull back. So nice. Now come back, bring that block back next to you. You're going to swing that right knee back to meet your left. Hands and knees, tabletop pose. Take a breath in, find cow. Take a breath out, find cat. One more time like that. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. And pick your left leg up. Send it straight back behind you. Start to twirl the ankle around in both directions. And then you get to tuck the toes under. Now here's a really good stretch for the back of the leg. Press back through your left heel. And then once you're there, you can maybe like send your heel, your left heel, right to left here. Just side to side. And then if you want to add a little bit more motion to that. You can even rock forward, come onto the ball of the foot, and then make these circles clockwise a few times. And then counterclockwise. This is a nice thing to like wake up the ankles, but with a little added pressure of the ground. And do that a few times, both directions. And then bring that left knee back to meet the right. Walk the hands up the thighs. Again, hands to your hips. Inhale to send the elbows back, shoulders back, maybe lift the face. And then exhale, sit back on your heels, hands to your knees, round your upper back, drop your head. One more time like that. Rise up onto your knees, hands to your hips, elbows, shoulders back, lift your chin. And then exhale, sit on your heels, hands to your knees, round. And you'll come back onto your knees. Block comes into your right hand and step your left foot forward. So 90-90 with the legs. And just for a moment, can you start to send your hips slightly forward, lift up through the top of the head, up through the chest. So rather than rounding, can you lift higher and keep the chest broad? And then you're here, maybe start to rock just a bit further forward, bringing that left knee further forward. And then on your exhale, just pull back enough to pick the left toes up off the ground. And then think about hinging at the hips. So it's not about how low your face goes, not at all. It's more about this hinge of the left hip joint, especially. And then you'll pull back to that lunge. Rock back forward, take that block further forward, brace your hand onto it, left hand on your knee for support, and then start to guide that left knee forward, maybe like even beyond your toes. So here you get a little bit more of a stretch. So nice. Now pull back a bit more, bring that block back. Now, maybe if you want, press down with your left hand into the thigh, reach your right arm up. So you create a longer line and a little bit more of a stretch in the front of the hip. One more breath in. So nice. Bring that hand back down. Left knee comes to meet the right. Tabletop pose. Breath in to find cow. Breath out to find cat. One more like that. Inhale and exhale. I'll send your right leg behind you, about hip height. And then take the twirl of your ankle around in both directions. And then you get to tuck the right toes onto the ground, press back through the right heel to find that stretch through the back of the leg. So mostly you feel it, at least I feel it mostly in the calf muscles, like the meaty muscles in the lower leg, but you're also creating that angle where you get the stretch in the Achilles right above the heel. And then if you want to add a little bit of load to that sort of twirling motion, come forward and untuck the toes. So you find that stretch in the top of the foot, feels good. And then rock your heel to the right, to the left, and create like almost like you were creating a circle clockwise with your heel. So when you press back, the toes tuck under. When you come forward, they untuck. And so that's your circle clockwise. Take a few, and then you'll switch counterclockwise. And it's nice to have that feedback from the ground too. So if you want to pause in one spot, you're like, oh, that feels like it could really use a good stretching. Like for me, it's the top of the foot. I could just land here and pause and breathe. Take a few more moments. And then you'll land in tabletop pose. Any final movements that you need here? Maybe it's lateral, side to side. And maybe you even then come to a seat. When you're ready, you'll sit up nice and tall, just one shin in front of the other. Breath in to lift the chin. Breath out one last time to round. And you can even stay rounded here. And if it feels really good, maybe send one shoulder forward and the other, just to intensify that stretch. Now grab your block and have it with you as you start to lie down. And place that block underneath your head just for a moment. And then take your elbows out wide here, like you're almost just holding that block with your hands. Separate your feet a little bit wider apart. And then start to take both knees over to the right. So your feet are separated, your legs, there's space between them as they rock over to the right. And then bring them back through center and let them rock over to the left. And you'll do that one more round. Come up through center, knees to the right. And then back up through center, knees over to the left. So just creating this little rock mobility in the hips, this range of motion. And you'll come back to center, heel toe your feet about hips width distance apart, and just hug your right knee in. And you can even keep your left hand on your hip then to stabilize your pelvis. And then see if you can just make little circles in both directions with that right knee. And getting into that ball and socket joint. Creating a little bit more mobility, range of motion in that location. And then you'll switch. Hug left knee up, right hand can stabilize the right hip, and then little circles. Excellent. And then take both legs long if you wish. Just a little relaxation here. Take a breath in to feel your body expand. And then maybe even open up your mouth, letting a slow exhale out. If you want, you can remove that block if it feels like you're more supported and neutral in the neck, letting the head just rest on the ground. Go for it. Soften the fingers, soften the toes, soften the jaw. Take a full breath in. Again, slow sigh out. And stay here for just a few more moments, maybe just observing from your toes, your ankles up to your knees and your hips. And give them a moment to just release, to soften, relax. Into your belly, to your chest, to your shoulders, down your arms and your wrists. Tips of your fingers, let them soften and relax. And let your neck, the muscles in your jaw, and the features of your face soften and relax. You might even hear just then become aware of your breath a little bit more as it flows in and out. Your next few breaths here start to just create a little bit of movement in the fingers, down in the toes. And if you want, maybe roll the wrists in both directions. Again, roll the ankles around both directions. It might even feel nice to take a long body stretch here. Arms overhead, point your toes forward. And you can start to bend your knees, and just in your own time, you'll roll to your side and then press yourself up to find a seat. Once you're there, maybe take a roll of the shoulders a few times. Maybe a roll of the head and the neck. And land in neutral, sit up nice and tall. You can even bring your hands together in front of your heart here. Take a breath in. Again, maybe open your mouth, letting that slow sigh out. And letting this time be just a time where you check in with yourself, right? So even if it's just for a little bit of movement here or there, maybe you've learned something about where your body's at, where you can send a little bit more love to different parts of your body, a little more attention. Even if it is just a little bit of